welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week edition of the program, we'll be focusing on the tripartite system recommended by the International Labour Organization in handling affairs of workers in different aspects, with special focus with that of government. We will be right back.
This is the first time the National Association of Resident Doctors is going on strike in the first half of 2021. It has been a series of negotiations and dialogues in the past couple of months between the striking doctors and the Minister of Labour and Employment. Still, the association believes that both the state and federal governments have been slow in responding to its demands.
Who wanted to sit for clinical exams so that they will...
The Minister of Health is now weighing in to plead with the striking doctors to go back to work and has urged other hierarchy of doctors to stand in the gap and save the lives of Nigerians who need proper health care during this time.
Go back to work even before we go on to start addressing the questions that they have raised. Repeatedly advise young doctors that going on strike is not the best thing to do. It is not the best thing to do at all, not only because it can put the lives of innocent people at risk over some money, no matter how much.
Dr. Ehanire says the federal government has opened the doors for ongoing negotiations and wants the doctors to resume, while still insisting that the federal government cannot forcefully urge states to comply with the demands coming from the association.
Putting everything together and putting the sins of everybody onto the federal government level table is not correct. It's not correct. It's unjust. It's unfair and does not solve the problem. I advised all our medical directors and chief medical directors to ensure that nobody is left unattended to, that nobody is turned away, and I'm saying that right now for the benefit of all medical institutions under federal and also under state government and local government. Do not turn everybody away. Do not leave anybody unattended to.
We have a duty to protect the health of Nigerians. We have the letter written to us stating all the items, and we're willing to address each of these items one by one.
The Association of Resident Doctors says this present strike is happening after a critical appraisal of the performance of both federal and state governments on all issues affecting the welfare of its members, and they believe the insincerity of government in implementing the Memorandum of Action is the reason behind this strike.
Delta State House of Assembly has been operating autonomy since 2019, while the Judiciary Autonomy Bill was signed into law in January this year, as these arms of government have been enjoying financial independence. But to strengthen their autonomy and to reflect issues that were contentious during the Parson and Juson's protests and the Memorandum of Action signed by the Governors Forum and all stakeholders for the implementation of the financial autonomy granted to state legislatures and judiciary, these laws are enacted and signed to law by the Delta State Governor.
So I'm truly glad that today we've given full and acceptable financial autonomy to both the House of Assembly of Delta State and the Delta State Judiciary. And it is my hope and prayer that this will energize the House and also the Judiciary to continue to do the best that they can to impart very meaningfully on the governance of our people.
Governor Okoa, having appended his signature to the Delta State House of Assembly Fund Management Financial Autonomy Bill 2021 and the Delta State Judiciary Fund Management Financial Autonomy Bill 2021 into laws, the autonomy of the legislature and the judiciary now conform with the national requirement to be fully independent.
You see, we have been operating the financial autonomy for the past 2 years, and they need to repeal it in conformity with the agreement reached with the Governors Forum and all the stakeholders, whereby the state allocation, the account allocation committee was not part of the former bill, and that's why they need to repeal it, and that's what we have done, and it has been assented to today, including the Judiciary Fund Management Bill.
3 other documents: Delta State University Law 1998 Amendment 2021, Delta State Printing and Publishing Corporation Amendment Bill 2021, and the Delta State House of Assembly Service Establishment Bill 2021 were assented to by the governor.
On the Profile Interview segment this week, I will be speaking with Honorable Minister for Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige. He told us about the several achievements the federal government has had in a couple of years towards ensuring that there's industrial harmony in the labour sector. Moving forward very quickly, the organized private sector is trying to they're trying to meet up with the current realities, especially with the effects of COVID-19 pandemic and more. And they've also complained about some policies that might not be friendly, or more policies should be set up for them so that they can also take care of their employees, and so also maybe sell goods and services at a more affordable price, because the end product or the end users are the workers or are the citizens. And of course, if they have to pay more at production level, it trickles down to the citizens. So what are the friendly policies that the federal government is trying to put in place for the organized private sector?
Not trying to put in place, that the federal government has put in place. The this president, in the wake of the COVID, put up a committee called the Economic Sustainability Committee. The word is sustainability. Apart from putting up the presidential task force on COVID-19, which is now metamorphosed to presidential steering committee on COVID-19, he put up this committee again. And in this committee, chaired by the vice president, had the Minister of Finance, Budget and Planning, had the Minister of Labor and Employment, had the Minister of Industries, Trade and Investment, had, that is the man who manages the private sector people. He had the Minister of State Petroleum Resources. They know what is coming in from the golden egg, the goods that will lay the golden egg, which is our petroleum. GMD and MPC. We had also in this committee the Minister of Humanitarian Resources. Of course, we co-opted and got him Minister of Agriculture. On the other side, he put in the CBN governor, again, who is in charge of the monetary policies of the country, and is like the financial government arm of the country. So we worked day and night. We came up with so many programs that were to make for number one, make sure that we adhere to COVID and fund COVID on the health side appropriately. Number two, to make sure that we gather enough resources in view of the plummeting of oil revenue by COVID, and also use those resources to maintain the existing jobs. So existing jobs, that's number three term of reference, to maintain existing jobs and create more. Then, number four, to protect employers of labor, who are the industries and private sector people, and make sure that they do not do job losses, to make sure that their industries are alive, to make sure that we do backward integration with the materials we have here and don't go for importation. And that's why we brought in Agriculture Minister. Because when you are going to do that, you need to feed yourself first. You need to then produce other things that can be used as raw material.
But talking about the CBN, there's been complaint from the organized private sector, especially those that are in the manufacturing sector, that most of the importations they do, they actually have to do that in dollars. So they want access to funds in dollars.
Yes. And the CBN is the custodian of dollars and the monetary issues. The federal government does the fiscal policies, and the CBN as the banker of last resort, administer our foreign exchange earning, administer even in our internal currency.
So what more can they do for the organized private sector?
They have their own conditions, which they have given to the manufacturers and other people in the sector. And they have also listed items you cannot import anymore because they can be grown here. Something like tomato puree, they discovered that the local tomatoes we have here, about 40% of them, after harvesting, go bad. They're not used because there's no good preservation mechanism. There is no off-take industries around them to off-take that from the farmers and then process them. So the CBN tried, gave people who were ready to establish tomato industries money to do so. Same with rice. Same with even cotton. They were encouraging people for cotton. The fund for cotton is there. So if you're a textile man and you want to be importing the lintel from abroad, and they will tell you no. You can establish an industry that is intermediate between you and the textile mills, and then you take the yarns into the textile mills, the yarn you have produced. I do not believe that the CBN will go out punitively to deny somebody that needs foreign exchange actually. I thought that what they were going to be complaining about is the money, the loan, and the auxiliary fund, which in some countries were given to help people stay afloat in their industries. But here, we have done something under Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment to keep small and medium enterprises afloat. There are grants given to them to assist them. Some grants. There are grants for them to pay some of their workers for 3 months as assistance. Yes. Free money.
There are lots of experiences that I'm sure you'd have gained during your conversation with the Judicial Workers Union, especially when they were on strike for many months. What would be the lessons you would want to pass across to state governments in terms of ensuring that the judicial and perhaps the legislative arm of government gets financial autonomy? I am aware states like Sokoto and the likes have announced the implementation of this autonomy. Can you bring us up to speed on this development?
First and foremost, I want to thank the state governments that had, even before the strike, put in state laws, fund laws for the judiciary and fund laws for the legislature, the state legislature, making for financial independence, or what they call autonomy. And since we also did a memorandum of understanding or agreement in my office which the governors have all taken back to their states for implementation. Some also have come up to also start implementation urgently. States like Delta had a law before then. Bayelsa had an autonomy law before then. And even since we passed this, Plateau, Solomon, along, have moved very fast. Sokoto, very fast.
Rivers?
Oh, Rivers. Yes, even troublesome Wike, even before the law, he has been doing well. But even when he applies this law, I know he will not apply it religiously because he is spending more money than this law will even give those people. I'll concede him that, with all his troubles, but give honor to whom honor is due in a particular area. I know the area I will not give him honor. So they are all doing well. Lagos was also doing very well for their judiciary in particular before that, and even their legislators. This agreement we signed was supposed to be a guide. It's not something, in fact, I thank all the governors for their unanimity in accepting it. And when they saw the agreement now, they all heaved a sigh of relief. Nobody have taken away their powers as governors of state. That is numero uno. A governor is chief executive of the state. He's a symbol of the state. He's the number one man in every state. That's why I called my governor all respect, because he's sitting on that seat. And that's why when he has altercation with some people, I come out to defend him, even though we're not best of friends. But I'm defending the seat of governor of Anambra State. I'm not defending Mr. Willie Obiano, no. So this is the thing. So reading through the document now, they have seen that the president didn't even mean any harm when he did the Executive Order 10. And what he was just trying to fine-tune was what the Constitution says. There was an amendment in the fourth alteration of the Constitution, I think Section 121, that gave independence of money to be given direct to the judiciary. And then the areas of the Constitution, various areas of the Constitution establishing courts, I think Section 4 or so, establishing the courts, establish federal courts, and establish state high courts, and customary court of appeal, and then named officers there. In another section, I think Section 85, who can draw money from Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation. This money now is drawn through the NJC to them. So those money is settled. But there are other courts in states. There are the customary courts, there are the magistrate courts. They are not captured. So there are officers there working there, magistrates and the others. They are not captured. That's why it became necessary to do an addendum to the law for their money also to come and be given to them.
Of what right does the Kaduna state government have to set up a judicial panel when the federal government is already trying to settle the disputes between Kaduna state government and workers?
Is just to go and be closing their stable when the horse is already out. They go and be closing the gate of stable. So that is the only way I will look at it. But they are coming. They are with us. There's a committee that my ministry put in place. I'm Minister of Labor. I'm executing powers of President under labor matters, as per Section 5 of the Constitution. It's President Buhari that put in that committee, just through a man called Ngige. That's the only way I want to look at it. And the other laws that flows out from the Constitution, from the executive powers of the President, in Section 18 of the Trade Disputes Act, only the Minister of Labor and Employment can put in a board of inquiry to look into any matter of strike. How it started, how it went during the strike, and the after effects is within the ambit of the Ministry of Labor. So I think that is what the National Industrial Court took into account and then stopped Kaduna State government from even inviting labor, NLC to come and testify. They hoteled them and say that they should come forward and prove their case. The Judicial Commission of Inquiry in Kaduna State is trying to work under a state law, Kaduna State government law. I think it's 2008 or whatever. But that is an inferior legislation to a national legislation, to an act of a National Assembly.
So moving forward,
So my committee is working. Kaduna State government, they are working. The head of service of Kaduna is member. The secretary to government of Kaduna is member. Secretary to government of Kaduna is co-deputy chair. NLC deputy president is co-deputy chair. My permanent secretary, Dr. Yerima Tafa, is the chairman of that committee. It's a 10-man committee. Labor has 3 persons. Kaduna State government has 6 persons.
So are you saying that negotiation is still ongoing?
It's ongoing and it's moving well.
And is there a timeline for this?
Yes, I gave them a timeline. The timeline is 3 weeks, 21 days. My permanent secretary has come to ask for extension, which I say should be put in writing. And I will authorize them. I give them an extension of 1 more week to make it 28 days because we want to resolve it. The president lives in Kaduna. That's where his home is, a residential home. Many generals, many permanent secretaries retired, many ministers retired, many governors retired, many servicemen that are retired of northern origin. Kaduna is their base. We don't want a repeat of what happened in May in Kaduna to take place again. No. It's not, we won't permit it. It poses a very serious security risk to the entire country, not only Kaduna alone. So we are determined to do the needful there.
Finally, the International Labour Organization, with strong collaboration with African Alliance, has this drive to end child labour come 2030. Can you bring us up to speed on what the Ministry of Labour and Employment is doing to support this initiative?
Oh, we've done a lot in terms of ending of child labor. Even this year, we've done programs on that. And as you know, Nigeria is a pathfinder country. And pathfinder countries are countries that the ILO find worthy, fit and proper persons. Person in terms of country to lead the crusade. So in Africa, we are about 3 countries, and Nigeria is one. That Pathfinder status makes you part of decision making in the fight against child labor. And if there are also technical assistance to aid the fight, you get it. So since we assumed that status, Nigeria has gained a lot in terms of technical assistance, programs on child labor. ILO tries to sometimes subsidize. And we have the local chapter, tripartite again in nature. We have NLC, we have NECA, that's employers, and TUC, and it's a continuous work. We are also offering that in areas where you have conditions that can attract people into child labor, that's like where you have mines, gold mining and the rest of them, all the other mines, that we try as much as possible to situate our labor offices there and schools. We ask ILO to assist us with siting of schools there.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.